Welcome to Townsville, founded in 1864. It was built as a port for the pastoral industry. It was the unofficial capital of the North Queensland, and it is one of the largest zinc and nickel refineries. So today we're going to walk around Townsville and show some of the architecture this city once boasted during its height of the industry. And with the buildings, just keep it in mind that it is what they were formerly used for, or originally used for. So come along with us and see what we can explore. See you on the walk.
Peter here, and what might you think is behind me? Now, it says GNR. You might be able to see that in terms of some of the inscription. Well, it's across the road from the Great Northern Hotel. I'm surmising that it's the Great Northern Railway. And in fact, Jojo checked his notes, and it was built in 1913 as a railway, and it was decommissioned in 2003. So that makes it operational for about 90 years. Now, the architecture is very interesting because it has a Edwardian Gothic look about it, as well as some Art Nouveau about it as well. So it's got a whole lot of influences over the time. At the moment, it is now administrative purposes, and it's got a little bit of a museum happening there as well. But it's a nice little building.
Behind me is the former School of Arts, and that was built in 1891. But there was a famous performer who performed here in their theatre, and that was Dame Nellie Melba. The building was damaged in the cyclones of 1903, and as you can see, they have restored it pretty much closer to its former glory. Okay, I'm standing at the Magistrate Courthouse, Townsville. It was opened in 1875. It was the second largest solid structure built here. It also operated until the 1970s. This is the only remaining warehouse of its kind in North Queensland. The lower story was built in 1884 and is supported by enormous timber pillars and beams. The upper stories were added in 1889. The crest adorning the facade represents the first logo of the Townsville City Council. An elegant house built in 1889 for Charters Towers mining magnate and politician John Dean, for rental as a doctor's surgery. We're standing in front of the post office, which was built in 1886. And the second stage, including the clock tower, was built in 1889. But World War II prompted the removal of the clock tower because they thought it might have been bombed. And that was about 1942. And then they reinstated it in 1964. So, to its former glory, not quite exactly the same as the old clock tower, but it still looks impressive.
Let's picture this. 1883, on this site behind me was a single shanty type of pub. Then in 1887, a sea captain came along, and this was a seaport by the way, and said, I'm going to improve upon this, and he made it a multi-storey hotel. And it flourished for many, many years, and today it remains one of only 3 styles of its kind remaining in Townsville. Now, it was actually known as the first pub you see when you come and the last pub you see when you leave. So I'm sure it's had many a visitor over the years. We enjoyed a lovely meal there last night. See you guys.
These purpose buildings and stores were erected for mining magnate E.H.T. Plant, who sought to capitalise on Townsville's emergence as a commercial centre. Later, Rooney and Company, a prominent local timber and construction company, acquired the shops. The Exchange Hotel behind me was actually built in 1882. It is claimed to have a body found which was found dead on the premises and discarded. Apparently he had the plague, and having spoken to a few people at the information centre, it could have been about the same time that they had yellow fever. It was apparently pretty rife.
The building behind me was named Magnetic House in 1970, but the building itself was actually built in 1887. It was actually built by AMP, and AMP started in the colonies a decade or so before that. I think about 1848. The AMP remained here for a number of years until it moved down to the more central business district. But above, on the top of the building, there was what was called the Amicus Tableau. This was a group of statues and children. I think it means friends. But when they moved down to their newer premises, that was relocated from this building.
Behind me is the former Phillips Company. It was built in 1895. But what's interesting is the cupola, which I'll show you in a minute. It was used as a tower, actually a lookout for observing the arrival of the company's ships into port.
We are looking from the Queen's Hotel across to the Customs House. The Customs House was built between 1900 and 1902. The building was built for a tropical environment, and you can see the circular architectural style about it, as well as the brick construction and verandas. But what I also noticed, that even though they built it for a tropical climate, they still include chimneys and fireplaces. I cannot consider that they would have been used particularly often in this climate. Now, as folklore goes, during the Second World War, there was a tunnel built between the Customs House and the Queen's Hotel. I don't think it is folklore, because when we went to the information centre this morning, one of the lovely volunteers there actually said one does exist. But I think it's out of bounds at the moment.
The moments pass, but never shall die. The memory of our honoured dead, who, marching whither duty led, with death met immortality. The names of those who paid the price for us, and for the land we love. Be beacon fires to all who move on lowlier ways of sacrifice. Rest in peace. Well, this is where our walk ends for the day. We've seen some wonderful pieces of architecture in Townsville, and behind me you can see another wonderful bandstand. Not a rotunda, a bandstand. It's square, but look at that beautiful intricate lacework that you can see from here. So if you're so inclined to do the walk, drop into the information centre, pick up the 2 leaflets and take a walk around Townsville and discover some of the beautiful architecture that it has to offer. That's all from us today, and I will see you on the next adventure. Thanks for joining us and coming along.